Hello, Assalamualaikum. Today we will present about the application of Arrahn contract at Yapiem. Before that, I want to introduce myself and other presenter. My name is Nur Syairah binti Maluddin. Second, Farisa Saadia binti Halim Saadi. Third, Siti Musliha binti Azhar. And lastly is Nur Aida Hadirah binti Roslai. And we can proceed to the first presentation.
The definition of Yapiem Arrahn is one of the welfare-oriented Islamic financial products that aim to help those in need of cash immediately. Yapiem is known as Yayasan Pembangunan Ekonomi Islam Malaysia. Yapiem was established as a foundation by the federal government in 13 October 1976 and it was incorporated by the Trustee Incorporation Act 1952. Yapiem also was successfully introduced the scheme as one of the pioneer of Arrahn scheme in this country. Next, the receipt or possession of the pawn object. The pawn object should be in the receipt or possession of the creditors. There are several conditions for its validity. Firstly, the debtor's consent, the contracting party's eligibility, and the permanence of possession. The creditor's possession of the pawn object should be permanent, which is arwah is is invalid if the object used by the debtor.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Siti Musliha and I would like to present the rules and conditions of Rahnu contract. The difference of opinion between Muslim scholars on the foundation of Rahnu is attributed to their separate attitude to the meaning and constituents of the basic element of all contracts. Hanafi scholars recognize sirah, which is ijab qabul, as the only important aspect of Rahnu. In the meantime, according to the majority of Muslim jurists, the position consists of four elements: sirah, contracting parties, which is the debtor and the creditor, the pawn item, and the debt. There are five conditions for a no contract to be considered valid, namely, first, condition related to sirah, which is ijab and qabul. According to Hanafis, the sirah of Rahnu should not be postponed or delayed to a future date. The legitimate term and condition of are those which do not violate the implication of the contract and do not lead to a prohibited transaction, as the borrower must be trustworthy, otherwise the creditor can sell the pawn item at the maturity of the debt. Second, condition related to the contracting parties, which is Rahim and Murtahin. All sides in Rahnu must have legitimate credentials to do so. The Shafi'is and Hanbalis take the opinion that the Rahnu contracting parties ought to meet the qualification of both the selling and the charitable contracts. Rahnu is also illegitimate if he is forced, not of lawful age, which is baligh, insane, mentally ill, and bankrupt. Third, condition related to the pawn object, which is marhun. In general, jurists accept that a pawn object must conform with the term and condition of the selling object so that it can be sold to cover the debt. This condition should include to be a respect property, to be in the possession of the borrower, and being a non-fungible property, not a user-friend property. Okay, next I will present implementation of Arrahn by Yapiem. Yapiem is basically government companies aim to boost the economy of the Muslim community. The method of implementation was similar to the employed by Bank Rakyat, used as a mortgage transaction in the implementation of the Yapiem Arrahn microcredit programs. Arrahn Yapiem branch through Malaysia has applied the concept of at-tawarruk through 4 product offerings such as Arrahn Prestige Yapiem for general purpose, Arrahn Emas Yapiem for owners of Yapiem Gold product, Arrahn Business Yapiem for business capital, and lastly, Arrahn Didik Yapiem for education. As one of the pioneers of the Arrahn scheme in the country, Yapiem managed to put this scheme in Malaysian key finance uh, finance for improving the socio-economic condition of the people, especially the low-income group.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Aida Hadirah binti Ruslan. So now I will explain a little bit about Arrahn. Arrahn is Islamic pawnbroking or short-term collateralized borrowing. The development of Arrahn in Malaysia provide an alternative pawnbroking service for borrowers which is according to Sharia principle. Arrahn is free from any riba and gharar element. Borrowers only need to pay for the principal plus a safekeeping fee as agreed in the agreement during the maturity date. The next one is about the legality of Arrahn that can be found based on proof from the Quran, as Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 283. So the verse means if you are on a journey and cannot find a scribe, then use the receipt of pawn objects. That verse above indicates the alternative means of documentation the debt in the absence of the scribe. Although it was revealed in the context of travel, majority of jurists except Mujahid and Zahiris agree that Arrahn also permissible at home. Ibn Hazmi al-Zohiri opinion on understanding from above verse can be mortgage is allowed when the transaction is executed during the travel or when the absence of witnesses who write down the debt, which means it is valid. However, majority of the scholar does not consider those conditions to be valid.
Features of Rahn application in Yapiem. Generally, Arrahn products offered by Islamic financial institution involve 4 Sharia contract, namely Qardul Hasan, which is loan, Wadi'ah Yaddamamah, which is saving, Ujrah, saving wages, and Rahnu, which is collateral. Firstly, the contract Qardul Hasan or welfare loans. Al-Qard is the giving of misli property by one person to another so that he may repay it. Al-Qard also the same as buying and selling because it gives property ownership with the property. Misli property is the similar unit property in the market, which is easy to find in the market. The hadith about Qardul Hasan is Ma min muslimin yukridu musliman marotain illa kana kasadaqatiha marah. Meaning, a Muslim who gives a debt to another Muslim twice is like giving alms once. court law is a must or mubah, and circumcised, known as nadbu or sunnah, to the person who gives the debt, because the concept of qard hasan is charity, which is donation to help the low income group. Qard hasan is an interest-free loan which is granted to the applicant who wishes to pawn his valuable items. Al-qard is one of the concepts used in Yapiem, where it refers to a loan given according to certain percentage of the value deceased, and savings are charged not based on the amount of loan issued. We can see that the Qard Hasan concept used in Yapiem are not using riba, but the saving will be charged. Then the borrower required to pay the same amount he was borrowed to redeem the valuable item at maturity dates of agreed period. The amount offered in Yapiem is 65% from marhum value. As we know, the amount offered in financial institute are different, and in Yapiem, they provide only 65% from marhum value. Lastly, if debtor still unable to claim his asset, it will be set off for an auction. Next, the flow of card in Yapiem. If the customer want to borrow the loan, firstly, the borrowers are required to pledge jewellery to Yapiem as collateral for debt, especially the item used are gold. After that, the borrowers will get the loan from Yapiem. Which is the loan will get the 60% of the marhum value. And then Yapiem can hold the mortgage goods until all the debt are paid off. At maturity, debt of agreed period. Then, when the debt are paid off, the mortgage goods will be returned to the borrower. Unfortunately, if the debt cannot be repaid, the mortgage goods can be used as debt settlement, which is mortgage will be sold and the balance will be returned to the borrower.
So now I will present about the Wadi'ah Yad Tomana. What is Wadi'ah Yad Tomana? Wadi'ah Yad Tomana is savings with guarantee, which refers to goods or deposits, and depositors give their consent to the bank to deal with the whole or any part of their money in the manner that the bank deems fit, as long as it is not against Sharia. Okay, next. The bank will guarantee repayment of the whole sum or any outstanding part in depositors' account when remanded. Then, what is condition for receiving mortgage goods? Scholars from Hanbali, Maliki, and Hanafi must be able for long-term confirmation. The loans will be declared worthless by the scholars of the Maliki, Hanafi, and will have lost the opportunity to pay the loans. And because of this successful mortgage return, if the pawnbroker returns to the Hanbali the mortgage products, and Shafi'i's scholars do not need permanent recognition for legitimate to permanent acceptance of products. They contain the receipt of loaning material does not preclude the loaning of loans for the pawnbroker on mortgage by using it for a car or a home, and the loans remain collateral because they conform to the Al-Bukhari hadith, which means finance their loan expenditures when mortgage, and because the mortgage is like a hiba in terms of birth, is a contract that is only required acceptance at the beginning and is not permanent. Okay, we continue to the issues combining a Rahno contract and Wadi'ah contract on the same subject matter. Okay, in this structure, the Rahno contract is executed in combination with a Wadi'ah Hildamanah contract on the same time. And this form of contract combination is invalid and impermissible because the legal effects of the contracts are not harmonious. Some of the items are contrary to one another. Mm, One of the most significant difference is the time in which the custodial good must be handed back to its owner. For instance, the original ruling of Fadi'ah requires that the good must be returned back to its owner whenever he requests it. In contrast, the original ruling of the Rahnu contract is that pledge, the pledge code is marhun, must be handed back to its owner after the pleasure. The meaning is the meaning is Rahin has fulfilled his entire debt obligation. This is because the holder of the pledge mortahin in a Rahno contract is authorized by the Sharia to hold the marhun as long as the Rahin has not settled his debt, as the Rahno contract is primarily intended to secure the debt. If the marhun must be returned to its owner upon his request, as in the case of Wadi'ah, the purpose for which the Rahno contract was legislated is defeated. Conversely, in a Wadi'ah contract, if the consignor wants to take back his good, the custodian is obligated to return the consigned good to him. The reason is that the Wadi'ah contract is a non-binding contract which can be terminated by either party to the contract at any time. The owner cannot claim his good on consignment because the good is at the same time pledged, which grants the pledge the right of the retention. Thus, the owner can only claim the good after repaying his debts to the creditor.
So next, I will explain about ujrah. Ujrah itself is a generic term in Arabic which translates to fee. However, it is usually used specifically in relation to a fee that is charged in exchange for a service. The Sharia concept of ujrah used by Islamic banks refers to payment of a service fee in exchange for the service rendered to customers, and most Islamic credit cards in Malaysia are based on this concept. The Islamic credit card holder is charged a fee for the service, benefits, and privilege provided by an Islamic bank instead of being charged interest. Cash advance are also available under the Ujrah concept, which sees some Islamic banks offering it along with the service of an Islamic credit card.
Okay, next I will present about application of Arrahn in Islamic mortgage and financing. Rahnu can either take the form of documents such as property document, sukuk, bond, and so on. In the current application, or items such as ornament, jewelry, and other valuables. In all forms, two parties may be involved in the basic framework flow of the Rahnu deal, primarily a bank as the borrower and a customer as the debtor. For instance, if you can see representing the cash flow, Bank A provides customer B with funding of 5,000 ringgit, and then customer B pawned his precious object as security for the sum fund, like jewelry. Next, customer B is paying down the debt, and lastly, Bank A returns the customer B the jewelry. In the case of the default, the asset will be liquidated to repay the remaining amount of the debt. However, without the debtor's permission, the borrower, which is Bank A, will not auction off the asset because he, customer, is already the owner of the pawned asset.
Arrahn institution in Malaysia will compete and dominate the conventional pawn shop with a long history in Malaysia. This is because Arrahn framework provides incentive for low-income communities in contrast with traditional interest-driven pawn shops. Lastly, Arrahn can be the economic basis for strengthening social economic development for the low and middle income groups, and it is aligned with the principle for cooperations. Therefore, as a Muslim, we need to practice Islam finance such as leaving a mortgage that has usury, which is riba, and replace with a Sharia compliant Rahn contract. Mm, that's all from me, and thank you for watching us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.